Hello, I'm Kristen Oaks-White.
And I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
Tariffs have been the center of attention in the world of politics, media, and trade. Retaliatory tariffs have been put into place by the countries affected, but there are some unseen effects as well.
This week, TWILA's Neil Melanson shows us how rice has been hit by some of these retaliations, and Louisiana farmers are caught in the crosshairs.
It's quiet here in Sweet Lake, Louisiana. Too quiet. This is a rural part of the state where rice farming is one of the main avenues of commerce, and these fields should be buzzing with rice planting this time of year.
I usually try to get most of my rice planted in the beginning part of March. That way all my little brothers and nephews are out of school to help run carts and equipment, and pretty much putting us in a bind to get all of the rice planted on time.
Joe Arsenault and his family farm 1,100 acres of rice here in Cameron Parish. He says times have been tough in the rice industry in the last 10 years or more.
With the inputs where they're at, we're no better off than where we were in 2015 when the prices were lower and our inputs were lower. And with the inputs we had this year with the rice prices they're offering now, it's not good at all.
3 of the 5 bins here are full to the brim with rice. That's normally a good thing, but it should have already been sold by this time of year. Arsenault says Mexico retaliating against the tariffs recently imposed on them has brought trade to a standstill.
With the tariffs, it slowed down the rice market. I sit on the board with South Louisiana Rail Facility, and I know that the Mexico wanted 150 rail cars, and they're willing to take it. But with the tariffs, scares of the tariffs, they are backed off of it. They want it as long as we pay the tariffs.
In the meantime, Arsenault is paying interest on all that rice.
Between me and my nephew, we got 20,000 barrels of rice left on hand, which would be probably a little over $400,000. And 9% interest on that money is quite a bit of money.
Arsenault says Mexico does want the rice, but they want him to pay for the tariffs for it first. In the meantime, he can't get a crop loan for this year's crop.
With the tariffs, that's 25%. And if you take 25% out of $400,000, we're not going to pay the bank. And we can't pay the bank don't talk to us about a crop loan for the 2025 season.
Arsenault says while he supports the idea of leveling the playing field on international trade, he's a married father of 4, and he just wants to be able to cash flow for them.
I think a trade war is it's a good idea, but there's still collateral damage that's happening right now. And we don't want the federal government to bail us out. We just want to be paid, stand on our own feet, and continue farming. Keep farming for my kids and my family.
Times have been tough in the rice industry, and with this latest tariff uncertainty, things seem to get even harder for farmers like the Arsenaults. Farmers like to stand on their own without help, but without some type of intervention soon, it seems likely times will get even tougher. Reporting from Sweet Lake, I'm Neil Melanson.
Last week, Mexico extended tariff-free access to rice and other products under the 2025 anti-inflation decree. That will make U.S. rice more competitive into Mexico than Thai rice, but it remains to be seen if Mexico resumes buying soon. The tariff situation continues to be unstable as new tariffs are threatened while some existing ones get scaled back. Agriculture is at the center of all of it. As I just mentioned, President Trump has delayed taking action on tariffs in Mexico and Canada until April 2nd, a move applauded by the American Farm Bureau. Nationwide, agriculture is dealing with its 3rd straight year of losses on most major crops. As of Wednesday, the Trump administration placed tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, which could provoke more reactions from other countries.
Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation President Richard Fontenot just returned from Washington, D.C. after meeting with the new Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. Fontenot was one of the many Farm Bureau presidents who got to sit down and discuss ag policy, the Farm Bill, and the impact of tariffs. Secretary Rollins encouraged them and all Farm Bureau members to be more engaging, that it's never been a more important time to advocate for agriculture. Fontenot said overall he felt it was a positive meeting with Secretary Rollins. With the rising cost of foods, more Americans are looking to their own backyards for solutions.
As Craig Gautreaux shows us, many of you are getting your own chickens to have a steady supply of eggs.
The cost of eggs is rising, and it's expected to rise even more. To combat egg inflation, more people are establishing their own flocks. But before you get your first chick, stop and think about some essentials.
First step is going to be structure. It's something that's going to keep them safe from predators, keep predators out, and keep the chickens safe. Next thing you need to take into consideration is having access to water and also a place to keep your feed nice and dry as well.
While those are fixed costs, raising chickens involves other costs that don't include money.
It's just making sure that you have enough time in your daily schedule to tend to them. So doing daily health checks, making sure that everyone looks well and is healthful, and then has access to that clean water each day and fresh feed each day.
The real reason for doing all this work is to ensure a fresh supply of eggs. Egg production is influenced by several factors, including the maturity of your chickens and weather conditions.
Each hen will lay approximately 1 egg per day, but they don't lay eggs every day throughout the year. So whenever they go through a molt, that'll actually be a weeks-long process where they won't lay eggs.
Extreme heat or cold can also hamper production, but it won't affect the color of your eggs.
There's no nutritional difference between brown eggs and white eggs. It all depends on the genetics of the chicken as to what color egg they'll lay.
And know the municipal regulations regarding livestock within city limits. You wouldn't want to run afoul of the law. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gautreaux reporting.
Duvall says it costs about $30 a month to keep a flock of 10 fed, and she encourages those of you interested in raising chickens, start small. Don't go with a big flock, get a small one. Livestock projects and food demonstrations. This week, a handful of 4-H students showcased their skills and interests in these areas at a farm tour in Concordia Parish.
TWILA's Carl Wiggers traveled to the outdoor classroom to show us how 4-H is empowering students to take the lead in their community and around the state.
It's a beautiful day in Monterey, Louisiana, where youth from across the parish have gathered to showcase some of their 4-H projects for their peers. Livestock projects and culinary skills. Those are two areas in 4-H that do not typically overlap, except here they do.
We got people that are presenting their livestock, more cooking, like one of the brothers did a crawfish dip before we did our salsa.
They ain't gonna need just about one chip, probably.
Aiden, Tennessee, and his twin, Eden, prepared a strawberry salsa, a dish from the Harvest of the Month program that is perfect for spring. But today is not just for sampling food. The Concordia Parish livestock team is also teaching about their livestock projects.
Today's event was to teach kids about livestock and how to take care of them, teaching them stuff like the basics, just how to take care of the animals, and just the agricultural life of livestock.
Woodruff Cavan and Christopher Seals are each on the Louisiana 4-H Livestock Ambassador team. They have each seen how their livestock projects have helped them grow into well-rounded youth as they raise their animals.
Doing these clinics and stuff like that, I can see the smile on them and the passion they have for livestock. They may not have shown before, but I can see they have a passion and they want to do it.
The program's helping with life skills too. It helps with communication, helps with just all your life skills you're going to learn throughout the years.
It doesn't matter if they win anything, it just matters if you have fun.
As Aiden will tell you, those life skills are not just a result of working with livestock. 4-H is helping him get hands-on learning with his cooking projects as well.
I get to learn a lot because normally I just watch my parents in the kitchen. I love to do things hands-on. I'm more of a hands-on outside person than just in the house.
And possibly the most valuable tool 4-H is giving these youth is networking.
This event has shown me that you can make friends without even trying to.
I really enjoyed meeting new people.
Cecilia Stevens works with the Louisiana Farm to School program, Seeds to Success, and loves to see these two groups of students come together.
You know, people who, from the beginning, maybe didn't think about their kid being involved in livestock, but they kind of were swept in from the nutrition side or vice versa. A child who was interested in nutrition and then throughout the year has learned about agricultural production.
Reporting from Concordia Parish, I'm Carl Wiggers for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
Seeds to Success is all about bringing the farm and school together. If you want to be a part of planting seeds of agriculture in your community, this coming week is Louisiana Ag Week, celebrating the farmers and ranchers who put food on our tables and clothes on our back. To get involved, visit our website at twilatv.org. Well, we're in the hottest part of crawfish season, and those prices are really driving people back to restaurants and their backyard boils.
Looking at some prices across the state, here's what we've found. In Monroe, if you want the best prices, check out Captain Avery Seafood. I promise you that's not from my time in the Navy, because I wasn't in the Navy. You'll find live crawfish there for $3.50 a pound and boiled for $4.50.
Head south down Highway 165 to Crowley, where Gilbert's Crawfish Tub sells them live for $3 a pound and boiled for $5.99 a pound.
Go northwest from there to DeRidder and Crawfish to Go. There you can buy live crawfish for $2.99 a pound and boiled for $5 a pound.
These crawfish prices are brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, which reminds you to always eat Louisiana crawfish and to make sure, ask before you eat.
Still to come on TWILA, we'll introduce you to a Louisiana Farm Bureau YF&R member who brought her public relations degree to the pasture.
Plus, fire up the pits. These kids are putting on a boucherie for the ages.
You're watching This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
March is Women's History Month, and we've been celebrating some of the great women in agriculture on the Louisiana Farm Bureau podcast. This week we visited with Raquel Manuel of Evangeline Parish, whose love for agriculture started in her FFA chapter in Baton Rouge. Today, she and her family raise cattle and spend their spare time volunteering in Louisiana Farm Bureau, where women have an active role.
Everywhere that I look, I see strong, powerful women who understand that their role can be diverse. And again, my primary role is here, and it's taking care of my family, but God has given us all gifts. And I think that as long as I'm prioritizing my family first, opportunities to use that gifts will come. And this is where it is right now. But everywhere I look in the Farm Bureau Federation, I see strong women.
To hear more of this great episode of the Louisiana Farm Bureau podcast, head over to our website at twilatv.org or search for it wherever you get your podcasts. The Louisiana boucherie has roots that go all the way back to pre-colonial Europe, before the people who would become known as Cajuns even made it to North America.
Today, the communal harvest of a pig and the celebration that follows keeps that history alive. And at Abbeville High School, the event is used to help teach young people about agriculture. Gino Delafos provides the music, the school resource officer leads the dancing, and the students at Abbeville High School provide the main attraction at a South Louisiana boucherie, the whole pig. Shane Theall is one of the ag teachers here. He guides students through the process of breaking down a whole pig, starting with the scraping of the hair.
Kids that you wouldn't think would scrape a hog, one of the first ones to get in there, and they scrape it.
Theall then teaches them how every part is used.
I started about 6 years ago with one of my students, Christopher Broussard, and he said, "Look, let's try to get a boucherie." I said, "If you could find a pig, we'll do one." And obviously he found one, and we've been doing it ever since. And it's just gotten bigger and bigger every time.
It's part of Louisiana's history, and these students, this is stuff that they don't ever really get to see. So it's really important to get them involved and to learn their history and to be able to learn these things that they would never really get a chance to see outside of our classrooms.
Madison Boudreau is also an ag teacher at Abbeville High. She helped organize classroom demonstrations of how to make sausage and boudin, something Louisiana FFA State President Alarian Fugile appreciates.
I have actually been inside of a pig carcass today. I have also been in a classroom learning how to make boudin myself, and I have also learned a little bit more about how to make cracklins. I've never made cracklins, so I've learned something being here just as much as students at Abbeville High have learned being here.
Delafos is no stranger to agriculture. When not squeezing the accordion, he's raising his cattle in Evangeline Parish. He knows not all of the students dancing to his music have the same experience with farming.
A lot of these kids are inner city kids, so they never get a chance to visit a farm and see all this stuff that goes on a farm and don't understand the whole process that it takes in order to get from the farm to the plate. And so with them being able to see this boucherie today and how everything is made, how it's cut and all the different parts, it really gives them a whole new perspective of how their food is, where it comes from and how it gets there. So that's a wonderful thing.
It's a wonderful thing organizers hope to share with more people in the future.
It's part of Louisiana's history, and these students, this is stuff that they don't ever really get to see. So it's really important to get them involved and to learn their history and to be able to learn these things that they would never really get a chance to see outside of our classrooms.
We did pass a good time. While Gino Delafosse was there, he gave folks a try of a sausage he's developing with Coastal Plains Meat Company in Eunice. He's perfecting the recipe and hopes to have it in stores in the near future. We'll be sure to bring you that story whenever that sausage comes out. Still to come on TWILA, we'll show you how Joe D. Burns helped grow the Louisiana forestry industry into the giant it is today.
Plus, the harvester conversion you won't see at the American Farm Bureau Trade Show. Stay with us. This week, we're continuing our series honoring this year's inductees into the Louisiana Agriculture Hall of Distinction.
The late Joe Burns started a small forestry operation in northwest Louisiana and grew it into an empire. Here's the LSU Ag Center's Craig Gautreaux.
Joe D. Burns has been described by many as being one of a kind. From the tiny hamlet of Changaloo, the European theater of World War II, and the forests of northwest Louisiana, Burns left his mark everywhere he went. He left it on his family, his community, and the land that he loved so much.
My service was to serve you and your family, to ensure your sacrifice goes down in history.
Joe Burns was a good man. He was a man of character and a man of principle. He was the American dream, really, to come from where he came from and to be so successful and have the acclaim that he had and the impact that he made on the forest industry and on the impact that he made on a lot of things. He was a World War II hero. He served his country, served his God, took care of his family, friends. He was always helping. If Joe was in the program, it was a better program.
Your story only grows. Whoa, whoa. You are not forgotten.
Forestry is Louisiana's largest agricultural commodity and a multi-billion-dollar industry in the state. Burns had a knack for working with landowners to maximize their timberland. But in order to make it sustainable, when trees were taken out, trees must be put back in.
Joe's greatest contributions to forestry is the fact that he has helped landowners in the reforestation and the sustainable harvesting of their product. And that is extremely important to people that don't really understand fully what their timber is worth, but Joe helped them do that and then help that land get back into production.
He was a part of the group that began the third forest in our state of Louisiana, which is reforestation and replanting the trees that early on there was just cutting and harvesting and not a lot of thought put to replanting. So I wish, I know that he got to see some of this, but even now so much goes to reforestation. And I think it's because of him and those in his generation that had that vision. They really had a vision to see that happen.
Something he seemed to take forever.
Burns had an appreciation for many things, and one of those was LSU. As a student, he would hitchhike back and forth between Changaloo and Baton Rouge. His time spent on campus created a passion that remained with him the rest of his life, and that was LSU football, which is now a family tradition.
The only Saturday I ever knew him to take off from work was when LSU was playing football in Baton Rouge. He and Miss Burns would make a trip down to Baton Rouge.
He loved LSU, no doubt. It didn't matter if it was raining or the sun was shining or if the coach was good or not so good or we were winning or losing. We were going to see LSU play. The Tigers were playing, he was going to be there, and we still go today. We've taken our children and now we're taking our grandchildren. And it's just a fun tradition, for our family.
Go Tigers! While football is fun, Burns understood the real mission of college, and he wanted others to experience the opportunities a university education could bring. He had the foresight to marry two things together that meant a great deal to him: a college education in forestry.
But Joe's love for education put him with the Forestry Foundation. Now, the Forestry Foundation is part of the Forestry Association, and Joe, for 30 years, was the president of the Forestry Foundation. We started giving one scholarship a year to a student studying forestry. When Joe retired from the Forestry Foundation, we were giving 45 scholarships a year to students studying forestry and wildlife.
That was his goal, that we need to plant seed for tomorrow, and part of the seed is the young people who are educated and understand forestry.
We must be educated. We carry on, we never give up.
Those that worked with Burns said he never saw any timberland he didn't like, and that's why he sought to acquire land, because they just weren't making it anymore. His acquisitions have led to a legacy for his family that will hopefully provide for generations to come.
We carry on, we're staking our claim. We carry on, we're still in the game.
Not everybody has the opportunity to have that or to receive that, and so it's definitely a blessing, and it's something that you want to make sure that you're a good steward of, and I see that as something that Mom and her sisters are the primary stewards of today, but then one day that responsibility will pass on to us. It feels like he prepared a legacy for us, and so how can we do the same thing for the next generation?
We carry on, we never give up. We carry on.
Joe D. Burns was a man of faith, loyal to his country, and loving towards his family. He had an appreciation for timberland that he's passing on to future generations. Through his life works, he is now being inducted into the Louisiana Agriculture Hall of Distinction.
I am so excited about that. I am so pleased. It's well deserved. He probably wouldn't have said anything to anybody about it, but I am glad and proud that he is being honored in this way, and I thank you for those that have made this happen, because it is well deserved.
About your legacy and what you mean to me. Always remember, you're not forgotten.
Time now for this week's TWILA Boost, and we all know that farming is how you feed a lot of people at once.
But I don't think that John Deere had this in mind, though, when they released their latest harvester. Carnes Hildebrandt, a ranch in Mexico, converted this harvester to work as a massive rotisserie barbecue. They fired up some chicken for this mid-autumn festival, and it looks like they've made enough to feed thousands.
That was amazing. I never thought about using that front header.
You know what's going to happen now?
Oh, everybody's going to do it.
No, Carl Wiggers is already figuring out a way to borrow one of his dad's combines to do this.
Is it going to be co-branded John Deere and Traeger? I see that coming. I see it happening.
You need some wood pellets in there somehow, I'm sure. Well, that does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week when we'll look at some crawfish farms who've bounced back after the drought, and some that haven't.
Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org, and be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. You can also find all of these stories and more on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe, turn on those notifications. That way you know when we put something new out there.
For all of us here at TWILA, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.